Hi guys. So it was just a quick live, like the let's chat thing. It was just a quick live, just for a little update, really, on what we're not doing, but also just to tell a few little ghosty stories that we have. There's not much going on, and everyone loves a good ghost story, so we thought we'd talk a little bit about ghost stories and things that have happened just when we're not out investigating and in daily lives. And if anybody else has any ghost stories, I dot. If
Hey,
anybody
Dot.
else has any ghost stories, feel free to message the page or comment, and we can read them out next time. Yeah. So update on what we're doing at the minute.
Very little.
We're now Newcastle has gone straight from lockdown into tier 3, so we are a bit stuck for a bit stuck for going out. But I think it does mean that we can meet up outside still, and so there's plans in the making, but we haven't got them yet. But we'll try. We'll try, won't we, Mark?
Well, we certainly will. I mean, if we can get out, we will. And if not, then obviously we'll just try and keep this up to date as best as possible.
Yeah, but as soon as I've got a plan, I'll let you all know in the group, because we're itching to sort of get out as a group again and investigate. But it's not ideal with the tier 3 scenario, but it is what it is, and we'll go with it. I wanted to stay at a few haunted places as well, so that is the plan for as soon as it's okay to do so. It's not really in tier 3, I don't think. Yeah, Tony says rule of 6 outdoors. That is, so I think we can outdoors. And I was having a little chat with Tony and a few other people last night as well about venues and outdoors stuff. So it is possible that could be a few things upcoming that we'll do, research purposes, and we will update you on any results we get, hopefully. But yeah, so where was I? Yeah, we will, as soon as we get into a tier 2 scenario. Ideally, I'm wanting to stay in a few haunted places. Me and Louise are still going to stay at the Golden Fleece at York, so literally as soon as it's possible to do so, we're going. Like day one of possibilities to get to to get to York, and we're going.
Well, you can certainly get there. Fingers crossed, you'll get there.
I know.
You've got to live. You've got to live. You've got to live in hope and be positive. And we will eventually get out of this tier 3 into proper sort of normality, really. Or do paranormal investigators actually have a normality? I don't think we do we?
I don't think so.
Don't. No, I
I don't
don't
know. There's no normal.
I was going to say there isn't a normality for paranormal investigators.
Oh, anybody, just a quick one. If anybody's commenting from the group, StreamYard doesn't like show your name, so
I'll
I
jump
can
on the
say
group.
hello. But Mark will check who it is. But StreamYard true name.
That's your gran.
Oh, Grandma, hello. So I actually bought something the other day. I haven't told anyone. I bought a pendulum board for future investigations. Now, I've never worked with pendulums. Have you, Mark?
I have, yeah. I worked with one. Oh God, about a few years ago. They can work. They do work very well sometimes, but you've got to know how to use them properly. Which I don't, but I'm sure I can work them out and figure them out.
So my grandma would kill me for doing this, but I bought the pendulum board, and I thought, oh well, it's not a Ouija board. I could probably have an attempt at this. So the other night, I was sat at home, bit bored, probably wanting to get out and investigate, but instead I'm sat on my sofa, and it just looks like a Ouija board, but for a pendulum. And to be fair, if you wait 2 seconds, I'll get it. I'll go get it and show you, so you can see.
I'll get a coffee while you're doing that.
Oh, no. Right.
I've got to stay awake.
How many copies have you had in the past?
No comment.
Right. I had loads of crystals on it because on the other side of it, it's a crystal board. It's like crystal board and pendulum board. It's quite good. But I was having a play around with it the other night because I think it would be really good research purposes on investigations. But I've never used, apart from the other night, one myself. So on one side, it is a little crystal board. The other side, if I can get that the right way, is like a little Ouija board, but for a pendulum. So, what do you think, Mark?
I like that one. I do like that.
Quite thick as well.
Yeah.
Everything. Crystals on this side, pendulum on this side. So
I just best not annoy you because you'll end up hitting us with it.
I thought for when we do get out and investigate, it would be something to work with. I've never like sort of played around with pendulum boards before. I'm not exactly sure if there's a technique or a way that you're supposed to use them. But as I say, the other night, sat on my sofa, which I'm not at the minute. I'm sat in bed because I'm being a bit lazy. But sat on my sofa, and I had the pendulum dangling above the pendulum board. And just started asking a few questions. Sat on my sofa in my flat that I don't believe is haunted. And the pendulum, a little crystal bit at the bottom of the pendulum, started to shake. Now, I don't know whether this was my hand, because that could easily, but I don't feel like I was shaking, but the stone was. And I was wondering if anybody who has used pendulums has found that, from just, it's hard to sort of know whether it's your personal movements. And I know it was slightly twitching towards things on the board. Like it was slightly twitching in the direction of the yes when I was asking questions, and then slightly twitching the other way when between yes and no. I can't quite work out how you're supposed to get it to go to the letters unless it's proper swinging. But it wasn't.
I think the last time I used one, you've got to have a very steady hand, and
Yeah.
it was one thing I had. I'd never had a very steady hand because I don't know why, but I've always got like a little bit of a shake in my hand. I don't know whether it's because I'm just drugged up on coffee all the time, but it was it wasn't really working. But then somebody else tried it, and it was moving, but you could actually see the actual crystals, like sort of pendulum, which is obviously why it's called pendulum. It was
Yeah.
moving backwards and forwards quite a lot, so you can always tell when it's actually moving, because it uses the energy of everybody in the room to sort of harness itself to the crystal, and it just sort of it's able to swing backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, as I say, like really worked with pendulums. I do like the idea of crystals and healing crystals. Like I've got a little amethyst bracelet on at the minute. I do like the idea of crystals. So partially, I thought this would be a really nice table decoration for when we're not investigating it and go in the middle and sit all my little crystals on it. But the crystal on the pendulum, it was shaking, and I know that could have been me, but I didn't feel like I was shaking. I probably need to do a bit of a investigation on that, really. I probably need to record us doing it.
That would probably be helpful. Like,
What's Tony say? It says only way to avoid ideomotor response is to clamp the chain below where you're holding it so that you can't inflate. That's a good idea.
it's a
I'm
very
gonna
good
have to
idea.
work. I'm gonna have to work something out. I mean, I think it's a really, really nice idea for investigations. I can't tell whether I was influencing it or not, but I know the pendulum it was shaking and it was sort of twitching towards. But psychologically, you can think that you want, or you think that's going to be the answer, and your body will move it that way. So I'm not necessarily thinking it was paranormal, but I was sat there thinking, oh, that could be moving there. But that really sums me up. That I'm getting a bit bored in my house. Get a pendulum, but I know I'll just contact the bed. Right back to Netflix. Yeah. So as I say, my grandma will probably kill us for that one, but I was a bit curious, so there we go. But anyway, for the next any live streams or any investigations we do public wide, I'll be bringing this. Um, can't guarantee that it wouldn't be me moving a pendulum because it's the same as dowsing rods. They're just very easily swayed.
Yeah.
So much so that the slightest little movement could move a pendulum or a dowsing rod. That I do think, and there was at the castle. I'm sure we had some when I went with my grandma and my uncle. They had something I can't quite remember, but there was something happening with the dowsing rods, and Ross swears he didn't move them. I'm sure that was what happened. But
And
as I say,
we had that case in the tunnel as well when we were using them. And I mean, I'm not a one for them, but
mhm,
I think it was one of our guests was using them, and they were actually moving, and she swore that she wasn't turning them or anything like that.
yeah,
And that was down right at the very entrance, down where we had when we heard that growl. So it was down there.
it's definitely something that I do like the idea of, and I think we can investigate with, although pinch of salt with the maneuvering of that one.
I just wish we could afford a thermal imager because that's what I want.
Oh, definitely.
I
You
definitely
know,
want a thermal imager, but it's that they're about the decent ones are about 300-400 quid to buy. So it's like
Rob's got one for, I think it's in his phone.
it is, but
Like,
it's I'm
how
just
much
not
do they cost? The ones
the
that go
one
in
the
your
one
phone? Are they?
the one that I think Rob got it. I think it was about 100 not quid. But to be fair, the better ones are the actual ones where you get the TV screen as well, which
Yeah.
is they're about 450, 500. But I definitely
I, get,
want to get one of them.
I know I've got, which we haven't used because we haven't been out. I did get the static meter, the new one, which I
Aye.
paid about, did I pay about 40 quid for it? I might have paid about 40 quid for that. So, because the last time I did have a static meter, but it wasn't the best. I mean, but I have got a new static meter, so we can use that
I mean,
when we
we've
next.
got those new thing. We've got a new. Oh man, what'd you get? The 4 things that you got.
The REM pod.
The REM pods. Because to be honest with you, I think one of those REM pods, I swear, was broken when we were in the tunnels because that thing just kept going off and.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I couldn't, and the reason I've got these 4 REM pods is because they've all got a different color LED light on. So when we'll know if it's just one going off. Do you know what I mean? So if we move them about and one's consistently going off, we'll
Yeah.
know which one it is.
Uh-huh.
Because before my other 2 ones, which they weren't cheap either, but my other 2 ones, they don't that you can't identify them between each other. They're identical. So these ones have 4 different color LED lights, so we will know what REM pod's going off, and if it's repeatedly the same REM pod, we can see why that is. And on investigations, if the same one repeatedly goes off, we'll know that one's probably got an error with it or a fault, or so I can follow that a bit more because I do know REM pods do quite often, whenever I investigate, quite often go off, and it's weird because I'll ask and it seems to go off like on command. Like I'll say, "Oh, can you go towards the blue light?" And I always say like the blue light. But now I can say different color light because I got. I was like, "Can you go towards the
I've
blue
just got
light?"
me visions. I've just got me visions of that blue light. Yeah, not the other blue light.
Yeah. Can you go towards the blue light on the floor? And the REM pod starts squealing. And then you say, can you go again? And then it starts squealing again. So, and that has happened. And the last time I think that happened was when I was at the Eccles pit in Ersden. Ersden? No, Ersden's not where I was. It was Backworth. Eccles pit in Backworth. That was the last time that I had the REM pod. And honestly, I was saying, can you go towards the blue light? And it was like, "Wee," and can you go towards the blue light again? So it was literally on command, and I find that quite fascinating. So being able to decipher between which one it is, say if you can you go towards the blue light now, can you go towards the green light, and see if a different REM pod would go off. That's the thought behind it anyway. Tony says that pendulums hanging on a clamp can also be good trigger objects, which is a good idea. We could set up the pendulum board with the pendulum just hanging off the clamp or something and see if that moves as a trigger object, and none of us would be touching it.
No, it's a good idea because if you have it above it, it could actually work it better, and then nobody's near it. But then obviously we've just got to check for vibrations. Like, say for instance we were doing, I don't know. Say for instance we were doing like the castle, and then you've got a train going past. There might be a vibration from the train through the electricity. So obviously we'd have to sort of look at that.
EMF meters you've got to watch in the castle, like REM pods and stuff like that as well. Anything, well, because the castle is right next to the train lines, and the train lines have a lot of electricity and frequencies and whatever you call them, it's got them. The train.
Yeah, I showed Dot and that up on the top when we were in the castle. I showed them what the EMF meter would do when I sort of pointed towards the train station. They were like, "Bloody hell, that's a lot." I think it was spiking 1500 on the EMF, and it was massive.
Yeah, I do a sweep of most places beforehand, but that's definitely one that you just can't, because the train will go past and it'll be like, phew.
But I found it only really happens when you're actually on the roof there. When you're downstairs, you don't really get much of it, unless of course you're near like the window. Unless of course you're near the window, then obviously you might get it. But never had anything like that.
I think the castle's fascinating. I had someone from the castle told me a ghost story that he had, and I was talking about this last night. So he's called David, and he did the talk a couple of years back that we did at the castle. So it would have been April 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago. And he did a talk for the first hour of the investigation, which was really great. And I met him beforehand. He was telling us a story about his experiences in the castle, because I says, well, you're in there often. Do you have any experiences? And he said, well, there was once, I'm not overly sure, but there was once when I was in doing candle lit. So the castle was lit up by candle for Valentine's Day, I think it was. And it was his job to go and individually light all the candles and the tea lights, or whatever it was, must have been candles, to make sure that the whole castle was lit up for Valentine's Day. And his girlfriend offered to help. So it was him and his girlfriend. They were the only ones in the castle. And they were up, and I think it's called the galleries. They were up at the top, put the candles on one side, went to the other side, and I think they were checking to see, if everything's still lit, everything's fine. And one of the candles was on the window ledge, had moved onto the floor, but the flame was still lit. So it's not as if the candle would have fallen off, because it was still lit, and it wouldn't have just fallen off. It was quite a heavy stone wall. So that I found really interesting. Yeah, I find that really interesting. The castle itself, I know the history of it is amazing, but like I love little ghost stories that people have as well. I mean, ghost stories. Mark, I think you said you had one from Newcastle, a little ghost story.
Yeah, this was going back a long time. I used to work in British Home Stores many moons ago. And this was about actually I got called out on an alarm call because the alarms went off. Now we literally did a full sweep of the place. We checked the alarm panel. The alarm panel said it was the stock room. Went up to the stock room, couldn't find a thing. So obviously pitch black, walking through the stock room, and I thought I saw Kevin, the lad I was with, right at the other end of the stock room. There was just this ball of light, because obviously we all had torches, and this ball of light just appeared. And I was like, oh, and I literally shouted out, Kev, is there anything down there? There was no answer. So as I got further down, the light disappeared. And I basically rang Kevin on his mobile. He was on the 3rd floor, and I was on the 2nd floor. And safe to say, I was like, didn't even know what that was. So about 2 weeks later, I was back on the stock room. I was back on the stock room floor again. This was early morning, just after we had the delivery in, and I saw a shadow right at the very bottom end, which was the opposite end to the actual light. But I saw a shadow going in and out of the stockroom rails, and that was absolutely incredible. Oh, incredible to see, absolutely incredible. And I do have a exact same thing about. I think it was about 4 weeks later. The elderly woman who used to work in there, I used to love her to bits. She turned around and said, "No, I didn't run, Dot." But the elderly woman who used to work there, she taught me about the times when she was in the early years of there, and she said there was a member of staff actually died in the stockroom. Sadly, she died of a heart attack. But they reckon that it's her that actually haunts British Home Stores. But obviously now, unfortunately, since Primark took it over, obviously the stockroom is no longer there. So I don't know whether Primark actually has any actual sort of hauntings or not.
To ring them up. Primark, hello, do you have any ghosts?
Probably the only ghost that they do have is the ghost of the customers at the minute.
You know, there's some places that you think there's a lot of history or there's a lot of stories behind, and then they just change, and you think, it'd be a bit weird me asking if there was any ghosts here.
But it's the same with the Metro Centre if you think about it. I mean, you know, when me and Rob did that interview, because I mean, I worked at the Metro Centre many years, and you know, I basically some of the stuff I saw in the Metro Centre was just absolutely insane, and it was just you don't think of the Metro Centre, one of the busiest shopping centres probably in Europe, and you would never see. I actually agree with that, Tony. I have actually heard about that Granger Market, but you wouldn't think the Metro Centre has thingy. But if you think about it, what the Metro Centre is built on, it's built on the old pits, and you can imagine obviously there's been a lot of things happen there, and you know you just don't. But you know, like sadly, there's been a lot of tragedy with obviously people sadly committing suicide, and some of the stories that you come out about it, and it's just think you just think to yourself, you're walking around in one of the busiest shopping centres in Europe, and it's written ghost history.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, the Granger Market, just what Tony was saying there, the Granger Market, that actually is supposed to be haunted. I've heard a few stories about Alley 3 on there, about a woman and a man on Alley 1, but I don't know too much about it.
Do you know, Dot says B&M in North Shields apparently has a ghost. I've put a few posts up about, haunted places in Whitley Bay, because I'm from Whitley Bay, and I'm in a big group, like I think it's Whitley Bay and Tynemouth group. I'm in that and occasionally ask questions of anybody think anything's haunted, and I asked the question once, and where was it they said was like, I think it was peacocks or something in I think it was peacocks in Whitley Bay in the Park View, and there was a few people had commented saying, "Oh no, this is definitely haunted."
Oh,
Um,
I don't. I've not actually saw any posts on there.
I
The
mean,
only one I saw was about about the pub. That was the only one.
the
That's the only one I actually
Beehive.
saw. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Beehive, when I always go to places and ask questions, and I was thinking of going to Peacocks and asking genuinely, but I thought, oh no, I'm gonna be laughed out of the building there. But what was it? Yeah, I went to the Beehive pub, and I always ask the people, the staff and the people in these places who allegedly have hauntings, and they said the landlord who lives above the pub said that the only spirits there are rum and gin.
The old classic pub one. The old
But
classic
he
pub
did
joke.
say, "Oh, if you go and have a look over there, there's a, a picture and it's got about the ghost. But the only
Mm.
spirits here are rum and gin." But I did put the post up after that conversation and added his little comment. And when I next went in, they were like, "Oh, are you the person that did the post?" And they were really appreciative. So they, as much as he had a laugh on, I think they were appreciative of the post. I think it did the rounds, the Beehive one. I do like a good local legend though. If anybody is from Whitley Bay and has any stories of hauntings in or around Whitley Bay area, let me know. What was it? Louise tagged us in the other day. Um, Louise tagged me in something on Facebook, and it was just a random post, and people were commenting, "Oh, the Garths in Killingworth, my home in the Garths was haunted, and my home in the Garths was haunted." I'm like, "Well, I live in the Garths in Killingworth," but it was just a random post, and then people were, "Oh no, that's what it was. It was on a Chillingham Castle thing." And people were commenting about the Garths and Killingworth, and I was like, "Oh, well, I'm sat in one of them right now, but mine's not haunted. Might be after I've had my little board out."
No, it is haunted. Your two cats are the ones that haunted.
Oh, did I tell you about the spaghetti?
Yes, you did.
So I thought, right, there's something happening because every day I'm coming in and there's spaghetti on my counter, and I just couldn't understand where it was coming from. And Suki, my cat, had been scratching under the kitchen cabinet, and the packet of spaghetti had like opened and been spilling through like a crack in the bottom of the cabinet, which I didn't even know was there. And every day I was coming in, and there was just spaghetti on my counter, and it was my cat. And I was puzzled, like, where the hell's the spaghetti coming from? So yeah, that's about as haunted as my flat gets.
Right, guys. I am listening. I am listening to what Katie's saying, but I'm literally sitting in the living room, and my front door keys are actually moving.
Can you turn camera around?
Yeah. One sec. Don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah.
I've never touched them, and they're moving, but there's no draft. That is weird.
That is weird. Just when we're talking about haunted flats, and your home is just
Well,
it's listening.
you know about the one about the story is a few weeks ago when I was sitting upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark gets quite a bit of activity in his place. And I bet you it's listening. It's like, oh, you're talking about hauntings. It's me. I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, one sec. What's going on? Am I still here? My
You're
phone's
still there. I
decided to
can't
do a
see
hissy
you.
fit.
Oh. Wait, your finger tapping on the phone's visible.
Am I back? Am I back? No, I'm not.
Oh, my cats are chasing each other.
I can't
Are you
hear
hearing
anybody.
this? No. Mark's gone. I think he'll rejoin. But yeah, ghost story wise, I've never. Oh, I'll get him back in. I've never had
Am I back?
anything. Hello, I can hear you. If you hear anything in the background, my cats are just chasing each other around my flat.
Um,
Um,
I, I can't hear anything. All I'm hearing is fuzzy noise.
can you not hear me?
1 second. I'm going to have to come back out and go back in again.
No worries.
Oh, no, it's back. It's back. It's back. It's
Oh,
back.
it's back. Happy days.
Bloody hell.
Um, ghost story wise, where was I? I've never lived anywhere that I've sort of thought was haunted, but I did live somewhere in Gateshead, which was on Gateshead High Street for a bit when I was at uni. And the whole place just had a really bad vibe to it. And I don't know whether you know when you walk into somewhere and you can just feel that it doesn't feel great.
Mm.
This place, it was awful. I was so glad to have moved out of there. And it's the only place that I've ever had sleep paralysis. And I just thought that somebody was like in my doorway. That was awful. And I looked up the history of it, and I literally found like an old picture of what it used to be, and it it's the same place. It looked absolutely amazing. I think it used to be a hotel or something. Um, like really old hotel, but it didn't have a good vibe. So whatever happened in there, it wasn't a happy home. Yeah, yeah, Dot. It's just not nice when you live in somewhere. It's just not got a nice vibe. And I never really had any paranormal experiences in there, although um my ex at the time, my partner at the time, he woke up in the middle of the night and he kept like saying like and he didn't do this at any other place, but he did this at this property. He'd wake up and he'd go, he'd be sort of dreaming, but like awake and speaking to it, and he'd be like, "There's somebody at the door. There's somebody at the door. There's somebody in the doorway. There's somebody there." And then you'd realize he was sleeping, wake up and go, "Oh, wait, no, it doesn't matter," and go back to sleep. And I'd be like, "Well, it does matter. You've just woke up and told me there's someone in the doorway, and then gone back to sleep." And he did that about 5 times. Once he was like, "There's a hand on the door," um, but it was always there's somebody in the doorway. And I had sleep paralysis, and there was somebody in the doorway, and it was honestly it was awful, and like I don't I mean sleeping in places that are haunted, I can do it for maybe like a night as a fun thing, but I might not sleep much. But living there and having him wake up like adamant, like no, there's somebody in the doorway, there's somebody there, and I'm like, and he's not saying it's a ghost, he's saying there
Mm.
is somebody there. And so it drifted between something there and somebody there or a hand on the door. And then you just come into realization and be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm just sleeping, and casually turn around, go back to sleep. Who was up all night?
But to be
Living
fair,
my own.
he was always a skeptic anyway. So
He was a skeptic, yeah, so
for
he
him
would,
for him to say something like that, it's. I mean, to be fair, he could have had sleep paralysis himself. He could have suffered from that himself. But it was, yeah. I mean, you know, by a skeptic saying that, but then totally dismissing it, saying no, it's nothing,
yeah.
and going back to sleep. It's like, yeah, you've had some happy backy tonight. Go wake up.
We lived in 3 different places, and that was the only property where he did that.
And that was your last one, wasn't it? If I remember rightly.
That was no, it was the one before.
Oh,
So
what
I
is it?
had me bungalow, which I loved the bungalow, and then before that I had the masonette on Gateshead High Street. and it was the one on Gateshead High Street.
Really?
So yeah,
That's interesting to know.
I'll see if I can dig out the old photo that I found. Oh, I think that my grandma commented, Beehive definitely worth investigating. Both her and my uncle Ross saw something years ago and they never found an explanation. I think they saw like something manifesting
Mm,
by one of the tables, and really bizarre. I think
mm,
I have a story about the Beehive actually. Um, my neighbor, when I was younger, I grew up next door to somebody. And my neighbor had this big German Shepherd, and there was a couple of them. I think one was called King and one was called Prince, and I think it was King, if I'm right. And the dog, this big German Shepherd, sat in the doorway to the Beehive and just went looking backwards and sorry, left and right, as if it was like following somebody walking by the doorway and like walking past the doorway, but there was nobody there, and it just sat there and did that, which is really fascinating because
mm,
what was the dog watching?
hmm.
And I remember her telling me that about the Beehive when I was really young. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah,
dogs and animals are quite susceptible to sort of seeing things that obviously us humans can't see. And I mean, I've seen cases. I mean, you've just mentioned the German Shepherd.
mhm,
There was an Alsatian that my friend used to have where I used to live in Deckham, and she was adamant that her house was haunted, and her Alsatian would literally just stare in the passageway all night, but its head was going left and right all night,
mhm.
and it was like literally as though somebody was walking past the doorway all night, and it was
That's
just really weird how
yeah,
they are
the same
susceptible
thing.
to it. Yeah.
There was at the snooker club, there was a dog come in. Um, one of the people who come in, Justin, he's got a little dog. What's the dog called? Millie. Millie, the little dog come in.
Oh, Millie,
It's
I
like
met Millie. I met Millie. Millie's
it's
lovely.
Bella Big, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she come in and she just started barking behind the bar, and like it was like following somebody behind the bar and barking and barking
Mm,
and barking and barking, and there was nobody there. And the little dog, like feisty little dogs, they like to,
mm.
yeah, but bark bigger than their bite. So
Do you know what it is though? She's actually really quite placid as well.
yeah, yeah, she is,
She's
she
very
is.
very placid. She'll not bark unless something's bothered her, and yeah, that's weird. That.
So she was like barking behind the bar, and people have sort of thought, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think Molly might have told me that once, and she doesn't believe either, by the way, but she had a few funny things. Like she's could have sworn somebody walked behind her at the bar and there was nobody there. And the other day, I was on my way to Harrogate, so it was just whenever that was, a couple of months back, Mol rang us and said the big doors at the back of the snooker hall had opened on their own, and she had closed them that morning. And they big heavy doors. They don't open on their own. I've never seen them open on their own. It just
Mm,
doesn't happen. Um, and she had closed them in the morning, and somebody had come to play on table four, which is the complete other end of the room. And then
yeah.
she went to put like a cover on the table and seen, and the doors were open again. And she said, I think he was called Barry, and she was like, Barry, have you did you open those doors? And he was like, no. And she was like, do you not think it's weird because the doors are open and I closed the doors?
Mm,
Um, so that, and I always said I felt like more things happened when I was there more, because I feel like whatever's there doesn't tend to show itself unless it knows you very well.
mm,
And obviously Molly will have been there a lot more during the days and everything.
mm.
And little things started happening. So there's one for you. And as I say, I can't sort of find out why there would be anything there. Like I can't find a reason for haunting. But
I wish I could find out more about the snooker club. To be fair, because there's no record
mm-mm,
of anything before the snooker club.
I don't think. I mean, I know it was the snooker club, and before that, it was like a nightclub, and I think it was the car garage.
Mm.
And before that, I don't think there was anything there, and has never been anything there.
Because I remember
So,
obviously we talked about the nightclub when we were in there. Because
mhm.
I swear blindly, what I feel in there is somebody with of a heavy authority, like maybe a bouncer or something like that. And that's, I mean, I've taught you that many a time. And
So
where
I'm
you see this
wondering.
person's like out like in like the corners of places and that.
I'm wondering whether, whatever's there is just somebody who used to always be there,
Mm.
and it was one of their favorite places and they've never left, or they've come back. I don't think anyone's died there. I just
Hmm.
It might have just been that it was a building that they liked, and
Yeah. Who knows?
that's why they might have played snooker. It could have
Mm.
been, but whatever it is, that there is something there, and it's, I can't explain it because it's not something that makes sense. Um, Tony, yeah, I will. I'll send you that address. As I say, I have looked into it. There just isn't. There shouldn't be anything, but I'm not the only one who's had experiences there. Now, if I ever do a live stream there, things happen, and I say on every live stream, I can't tell you there's any history. There's not, but I'll put the little electronic bits out and see if
Mm.
anything happens, and it always something happens. Um, there's times where I've just been sat in on my own, and I've felt like people have walked past. There's been bangs at the other end of the room, especially when it's just a few people in. Like, it's never when there's more people in. It's only when there's like less than 5 people in the building.
Mm.
I've seen a shadow walk past, and that's the only time I've ever physically seen it. I was playing dominoes late at night. The two lads were looking that way. I was looking that way, and the door made a big sound and it makes a sound, that really loud sound when you come in. And I thought there's a customer coming, so I was stood up going to tell the customer, like, sorry, we're not open anymore. I don't know whether I'd closed the front door because it wasn't quite 11:30. Just the people who play dominoes on a Monday night had left earlier, so we
Mm.
decided to play dominoes until the time they would usually leave, but we weren't accepting any more people in. I was getting up halfway out of my seat to tell the customer that we're not open anymore when I saw a black shadow walk past the window towards the door. Now, there was nobody come in the door, and nothing that could have caused a black shadow, nobody else in the building. And my friend John, who was playing dominoes with us, wasn't looking that way, but also heard the door.
Mm.
So, and Scott, who was playing as well, just thought we were winding him up. So, and John knew because of my facial expression. John knew I wasn't winding him up because I always talk about ghosts. So we must have been talking about ghosts earlier on that night. And Scott
Mm.
was just like, "You winding us up, man? Like, you're both winding us up," because we always wound Scott up. So it wouldn't be a shock that me and John were winding Scott up, but we weren't. um, there was a guy called Jim who sadly isn't with us anymore, but I used to talk to Jim every Thursday and Sunday morning, and he swore blindly that he saw somebody walk past him on table 9, and he turned around to say, "Oh, sorry," and there was nobody there. And me and Jim would talk about ghosts all the time, really,
I mean, to be
which
fair,
is
table nine's always been the hot spot in there.
mm-hmm.
I've I've always thought that.
John heard two snooker balls click together as well one night when because
Mm.
he used to work there, and he heard two snooker balls click together, and he looked over and they were rolling across the table on table 9, But that made no sense to have happened because snooker balls can't just move on their own; they're quite heavy. But he didn't necessarily think, oh, it's a ghost, but maybe.
I mean, that time I was playing snooker in the platinum room, and
Hmm.
I was on table 1 in the platinum room, and I looked across to the left as I was just about to take my shot, and I saw a shadow walking at the back of, I think it was table 3, and I was just like, I sat there, I was like there for 5 minutes. I was like, what am I watching? But then it disappeared, and that was the day that there was only me and my nephew in there, and everybody
Yeah.
else was playing poker in the thing.
Oh, poker day, yeah.
Poker day, yeah, because everyone was playing poker, and I was in the platinum room on my own with my nephew,
The
and it only happened
infamous,
to once.
there's also the infamous glass smashing video, which I put
the one that's
the
been
amount
the
of
one that's been
people who
thingied.
posted, oh, it's the glass washer, but at the time we didn't have one.
I
I was
remember
like,
it. I remember
it's
it.
not the glass washer. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's a ghost, but it wasn't a glass washer.
When
Um,
that went on the Chronicle, I'm not kidding. The amount of comments from that were just to be honest, I was buckled with the comments. To be fair,
if
to be honest,
anybody wants to
I
find
didn't
this,
actually comment. Yeah.
the funniest one is in the Sun, where it says something like, "Oh, the owner, the owner Richard Woods said," and it was like on about him saying that it's haunted, and my dad doesn't believe in ghosts. He's never said a thing like that. But essentially, if anybody wants to know what we're on about, go on Google and search glass smashes and haunted snooker club. And
I'm actually busy looking for the Sun one now. If you bear with us,
oh, the Sun one's really funny
The Sun one's hilarious.
because everyone come in and took the piss out of my dad, like, oh yeah, you've been saying this. um, but essentially, this. So I was chatting to my friend by the bar, and Molly and Matty were working. Molly brought some glasses in from one side of the bar, put them on the other side of the bar. These are ones that customers had been drinking out of. So it had like juice in it, and she'd put it on the other side of the bar, and the glass, after a little while, just explodes. And I'm not saying that it's paranormal, but it's an amazing video. Um, at no point did I ever claim that that was paranormal. I've put that on for the possibility that it could be. That could also potentially, the reasoning behind it that I've given is maybe that there's like a crack in the glass somewhere. But somebody I know, and I don't know whether you've met him, Mark, somebody I know who's like a scientist. I can't remember what type of scientist, but he's really, really, really clever. He's
Mm-hmm.
retired, and it was like he's that clever. He's made a hell of a lot of money from whatever science he did, right? So he was looking at this video, and he said he had it in slow motion, and
Mm-hmm.
he thought that he saw something white go into the glass before it explodes.
Uh-huh.
I haven't slowed it down and watched it, but he said that he thought that happened.
I found it. I'm going to post it into the thing. This one here is the one from the Sun. Absolutely
Oh,
hilarious, guys. Absolutely
right.
hilarious.
This article is hilarious.
It's
I'm
probably one of
sure.
the funniest I've ever seen. I've sort of like thingy, but to be fair, I've always commented on the Sun and said how bad they are, and this article will just have you in stitches, guys. It's hilarious.
It was like manager. I'm not reading it, but I'm just off the top of my head. I'm sure it was like manager said that these things, and what they were actually quoting was what I had said, but they'd misquoted me as well. So it was a misquote of what I had said, but saying that my dad said it. um, which I find really funny because everyone was like, "Oh, Richie, yeah, you thinking this is haunted, eh?" And he was like, "No, what are you on about?" And then we all went on the sun. And
Yeah, but the
it
sun,
was
the
like,
sun do like to exaggerate half the times.
yeah, yeah, no.
But
Anyway, whatever you think of that video, um, we left it open to debate. So we always left it open as, is it paranormal? Is it not? Is it science or is it paranormal? You decide. And a lot of people were like, it's a hoax. Somebody had commented saying, oh yeah, you've got some sort of like gun thing that you've pointed at it. And it's like, you know what? I wish that was like, I wish that I could create something like that, but no, it just exploded. And like in this video, you can see how shocked I am because the sound on the video isn't there, but the noise it made was really loud.
was the customer's reaction as well? The customer's reactions like, what the? And did
So
you see the customers just like
bar,
scratching their heads?
everyone in the bar, who you can't see on the video, but everyone in the bar was like, "What was that?" Because it made such a loud noise, and we just posted it. It was before the page had really had much traction either,
Mm.
and we posted it just thinking this was really fun, like this was really funny, and it just went mad. That is and will be. I don't think that we're ever going to trans the views on that. That is like that will be the most viewed video on the page somewhere. But I was like, hello, Suki.
We'd never an appearance without Suki.
Right,
Well,
pal, have you come for the show?
he
Hello.
always does.
Oh, can't have a live stream without you appearing, eh? He's had his mad half hour. Now he's come to bother us. So don't stand on my laptop. I've got a live stream going on. Oh, thank you. Great timing. Thank you. You always like to disrupt, don't you? He's like, you're not showing me attention. Do you want to come ghost hunting? Should we get you on a ghost hunt? He is, isn't he? He's the star of the show. Oh, mind you've got something crispy on your fur. What have you been into? What have you got? That wasn't a... He's eaten something. I bet he's been in the bin bag.
More than likely.
Have you been in the bin bag?
Like
We'll
he's actually
find out.
going to admit that. He's not going to admit that.
Right, but ghost stories. There's quite a few little things from just daily life, not investigating, but just daily life. Like there's quite a few. Um, I was going to share a few of everybody else's ghost stories, but nobody really commented on the
Dot
post.
did it. Dot did earlier on. Oh, you missed
Um,
that one.
on this one about a
Yeah,
sister. Oh, I think this must be Louise commenting about the
it is. It
spaghetti.
is.
Ah,
Mm.
yeah, you and the spaghetti. Um, yeah, Dot had said earlier that she lived with her sister for a short time, and she was woken up by someone trying to pull her out of bed, which is scary. But I was referring to a post we put in the group, or Dan had put in the group earlier today about ghost stories, but I don't think anyone. I mean, it is a Wednesday, but
I
I don't
didn't
think
even. Do you
anybody
notice? I
had
didn't even see it.
yeah, I don't think that. I think a few of the posts in the group. Oh, it's Dan. It's not even. It's not Lou. It's Dan.
Hi, Dan.
It's like guess the admin.
It is. It is definitely guess the admin.
Lou did message us saying she's gonna catch up. Oh. Bless you. What was I saying? Yeah, so I think it might be like the algorithms in Facebook, and like some posts like go to the top and some other ones don't, and I don't know why, but some of them aren't like visible to a lot of people in the group, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's come up on a lot of people's feeds. Oh, look at this. Can you hear him?
I can hear him. That's not even a cat. Cats don't make that noise.
Oh. Oh, right, okay. So the group stream seems to be a few minutes behind, so the streams must be streaming at different times.
Yeah, I think
Slightly.
they are. I think they are.
I haven't streamed it to YouTube today, but I will upload it to YouTube for anybody who wants to watch. I know my Uncle Ross does watch them on YouTube. But I think we've recapped on a few little ghost stories today, and we'll probably leave you be. But if anybody has any ghost stories that they want us to sort of talk about, we can always mention them on a live. We can be live. I'm going to be a bit busy next week, but I might be able to come live next week if anybody sends in some ghost stories. Up to Mark as well. See how busy he is.
To be fair, I'm pretty much easy as long as it's after 9 o'clock because I've got a lot of meetings at the minute to go through and a lot of racing to do. So it's like trying to fit that in, trying to fit live streams in, trying to fit my daily life in. Really.
So I'll see if I can find a few more stories for you, and if I can, we'll share them. I've also got a few just books on local haunted places that we can talk about as well. So I've got haunted cats. Sure, fans of ghost cat stories. For you, we always forget you again.
I've got a couple of good local ones as well that I got told a few years ago. So there's a couple that we can add in.
Fab. Well, so we'll leave you for now, and potentially we'll be live next week. And also, we'll say good night to Dot as she is off off to bed, and good night to everyone.
Yep. Good night, guys.
Good night.